We now are at the point where individual members will be given 5 minutes for questions. I am the first of those, then Congresswoman Pelosi, although she might yield, then Congressman Romer and Congressman Bollert will question in that order. I'm very interested in the issue of terrorists among us. To me, of all of the links of the chain that threaten the people of the United States, one of the most, if not the most significant, is the fact that a particular nation or organization has a capacity inside the United States of trained and placed operatives who are willing and capable of conducting terrorist assaults against us, as we saw so dramatically on September the 11th of last year. In a closed session, it was stated that one of the targets to try to disrupt and avoid the enlargement of those operatives inside the United States would be a closer scrutiny on those persons who we had reason to believe had gone through a training camp and then were trying to return to the United States or enter the United States for the first time. We are getting a significant amount of data from the results of the war in Afghanistan on that subject. Now the question is, how can we apply it? This question is particularly to Mr. Greene and to Ambassador Taylor. We issue visas from most of the countries that are of greatest concern to us to applicants within that country for entry into the United States. How much utility have the intelligence agencies made of your visa list to match it against list of suspect persons to determine if there are people already in the United States or to be on the watch for persons who might be attempting to enter the United States?
I'll start from the interior, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned to you earlier, the information that we're currently getting in from the various agencies of the national intelligence community, and the 14,000 number that I mentioned to Mr. Shelby earlier, includes but is not limited to CIA cables. But that is giving us a capability when we expand the use of IBIS to people who are already within the United States, for example, applying for benefits, to use that intelligence in a way that we have not been able to before. One of the other things that I mentioned, which is the special registration program under the NSEERS system, is allowing us to focus not only on 5 countries that have been identified by the Attorney General as needing to participate in this special registration process, but also allows for the individual inspectors within certain guidelines and based on certain intelligence to require other people from other countries to register as well. So I think that there's a greater expansion of the information that's we now have access to in terms of who poses a potential threat to the United States, in addition to identified targets by name as a result of intelligence work overseas. The challenge for us, as I said to Congressman Hoekstra, 7 million illegal people in the United States by estimates. The challenge is for us to devise a risk management strategy that would allow us really to focus the resources that we have in the interior on identifying those people who pose the greatest potential threat. And it's based on the intelligence that we receive from the various components in the national intelligence community that in part helps us devise a system that allows us to manage that risk effectively.
I'd like to ask a quick question before turning to Ambassador Taylor. Could you assess in a few words where are we in terms of implementing the system that you have just outlined?
We are just starting.
Ambassador Taylor?
Yes, sir. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, Mr. Chairman, we have received from the intelligence community a large amount of data that has gone into the top off and eventually into our constant lookout system. that we continue to evaluate in terms of people who have been issued visas as well as people through the INS that have come to the United States. So the great influx of that information has been very useful in making the tip-off and class database available for the entire community as a source for information on potential violators or others that we need to go find or indeed not let back into the country, not let into the country.
I'm going to exercise the chairman's prerogative for
Yes,
one
sir.
quick follow-up question. What percentage of those persons who are on your tip-off list are also in the database for the interior activities? Is it 100% or?
It's available completely to the INS and IBIS.
When it's my next turn, I'm going to be asking some questions of Governor Gilmore and Commissioner Norris to stay on the theme of the terrorist.